All right, g'day, Idol. I just had me a good snack of popcorn. Put some spices on it. Put a little bit too many spices on it. So, zippity. Here's what happened. It's kind of raining out. Okay, so I worked today. Obviously, I did the last video. I babbled and blubbered on about my chainsaw, and you would too if you had such nice chainsaws. Just saying. Not judging, but if you don't have the chainsaws as nice as mine, maybe you should be judged. Just saying. Anyway. Uh, so okay, well, I had to do something today because I haven't really done much down here in the last past week and a half, 2 weeks. Well, other than the normal stuff, right? But basically today, I had both bins empty, so the recycling was picked up today. I put the sleigh, the little red sleigh, plastic sleigh. It's like plastic. I stuffed it in. I freaking stuffed it. I used that to crush down a whole bunch of other stuff. I actually started cleaning up around the barns. So I'm about half full of the recycling bin again, and it took me like 2 seconds to fill up the garbage again. Now my cousin gave me a little bit of not a warning, but he's like, Reg, he goes, you're clearing this place out, right? I said, yeah, yeah. He goes, oh, when you're doing the recycling, because he's the garbage guy and the recycling guy. Just you can't put this in here, you can't put that in there. So I kind of knew, kind of didn't. So I was like, see what I can get away with. So I was like, geez, I hope because I'd filled that bin like I guess 2 weeks ago. The recycling bin, that was 2 weeks ago that I last filled it. I was like, oh geez, I hope he takes that one. I came and it was empty, so I guess he was happy. But like I put clothes and stuff in it. But I'm at the point now where I'm out at the barns. I just went through the granary, one barn, and then I'll go into the stable, and I'm cleaning up around the barns because Paul and I hopefully will do some scrap metal on Thursday. Clean up everything up my dad's. Clean up everything here. Clean that out. Like once I clean out the woodshed, like there's a lot of metal in there. Like there's a lot of metal in it. It's all small shit, but there's a lot in there. And I'm not going to get it all in one load because I can't just take everything I want because some stuff is, it's other family members and stuff. I got to make sure that. But there's stuff I'm going to take liberties and it's like, okay, yeah, that's getting out of here. Anything antique I can't get rid of. But anything that's like really obvious, like pieces of like aluminum siding. So I'm just going to get rid of it all. Like, like just clean it out, clean it out, clean it out. I don't want anything in the barns if I can help it other than barn animals. You know what I mean? And then maybe the tools to take care of the barn animals. That's it. I did find a hay fork or a manure fork, sorry. So that was a good find today. But yeah, I got the bin about half full. Uh, I didn't really get much out of the woodshed because like I pretty much got most of the recycling out of there. So now I'm out at the and there's nowhere near the amount of recycling at the at the barns and stable and the granary that there was in here but it's an unfathomable, like it's years of stuff that was like just hoarded. Like all these little containers just hoarded. You know what I mean? Jars just, like salsa jars. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe keep a few of them around for like nails and screws and so that. But at some point, like once you got 1,000 of them, I think you better. Maybe there wasn't 1,000, but you get the idea. There was probably a couple of hundred of those, just of those, and then all these other jugs. Plus, I'm finding jugs from 50 years ago that are like broken jars and stuff like that. That's just stuff from my grandmother and grandfather. You know what I mean? So anything that's like junk, I'm obviously going to scrap it, right? Like there's a I thought I heard Marvin. I haven't seen him yet today, so fortunately, I haven't seen him in here yet today. But maybe I just made popcorn. Maybe say, "Oh, hey, he cooked me a meal. Nice." Um, but like the junk side of it, like the clothes, there's really not that much. Well, there's a lot of clothes left, but not that much clothes left. I did get rid of like the bulk of it, right? So we're getting down to the get rid of the metal. Um, Once I get rid of the metal in the woodshed and the metal that I can take for now, like there's probably a couple of tons worth of metal here, but I just, like I say, I don't know what I can take, what I can't. For now, I'll just take what's obvious that, okay, yeah, no one's going to care if I take this and just get rid of it, clean it up. And then like, for example, there's no a couple of old barbecues and stuff like, okay, yeah, no one's ever going to fucking use those things. You know, like the old generator over there, I'm just going to chuck it. And they say, oh, well, I was going to keep that for the frame, or I was going to, take the carburetor off it. Yeah, it's been sitting there for 5 years, 10 years. You know what I mean? You weren't going to do shit with it. So, no, if it can be tossed out, I'm going to toss it out. Because every time I like get rid of stuff, I find other stuff. Oh, like, hey, I can get rid of this. Like going into the stables and the barn, there's a canoe in there, right? So, like that old canoe. I don't know what I'm going to do with that thing. The only thing I can do is kind of like chop it up and discard of it. You know what I mean? I got my ways, right? I got my ways. Or take it for large waste pickup. Like here's a canoe. I'll see if my brother still wants to keep it, because it's just I'm never going to get around to repairing it. And there's 3 up there now, mind you. I've got a place to repair canoes though, and that's the garage. I wish it was big enough to get the 2 trucks in there. Like the building's big enough to have the trucks in there, but you can't get the doors are too low. I mean, the doors were meant for letting cows in. They weren't meant for letting trucks in, right? Because that'd be awesome if I could get my trucks in there and work on them all year. That'd be awesome. But, yeah, so there's a lot of junk that I know some stuff is being stored down there. Like my dad has wood in the barn. My aunt has wood in the, planks in the stable. My aunt and uncle there, they've got a few things in there, and it's just like, okay, well, there's a couple of stoves in there. I'm just like, they've been in there for years. You know what I mean? Like when my brother was down here, like other people were still using to store the stuff there. It kind of wasn't quite fair. It's kind of like, well, if he's renting the place, he should have a run of the whole place. You know what I mean? I don't mind. Like it's okay if someone says, "Hey, do you mind if we store this in there because we have no other place?" But you don't care about that. But it's just like, okay, like that big pile of insulation just in the stable, you can't get past it. You have to step around it and stuff like. My uncle, he put that there, and it was just like, why did he put it there like that? You know what I mean? Like if you were going to store it there, should have stored it somewhere off to the side so people can get in and out and use it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna take a liberty. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't know it was his, and I'm gonna chuck it out because this stuff's all chewed up. He's never gonna use it. It's been in there 10 years. You're not gonna use it. You know what I mean? By the time he realizes it's gone, you know what I mean? Like it'll be like, oh, what happened to it? Oh, I chucked it all out. Oh, I thought it was my brother's. It was no good anyway. It was all chewed up. But you want to keep the peace with everybody. Obviously, I get along with all my family members really well, and I'm pretty sure almost all of them don't care what I do down here per se, because they're like they see the work I'm doing, and they're happy to see it. Like you have to understand, this is the original house on the property, right? So for me, there's a nostalgia everywhere I look. Like I have a memory in every corner I look here. You know what I mean? That's why the table's there, because that's where Grandma and Grandpa put the table. You know what I mean? That's why the rocking chair's there and Grandpa's chair is here. It's not my grandfather's chair, which I might be getting another one of these. Paul's trying to offload furniture on me and stuff like that. He goes, well, I got a whole bunch of stuff for you if you want. Not too much, but I'll see what you got. And he might have a small bar fridge. That's good. I told him I should, like, that's just too big. Like running all that, like I got a bottle of mustard in there. That's it. A thing of mustard. That's all I got in the fridge. But the reason why I keep it running is because I don't want it to smell, right? But if I can get a cleaner fridge that doesn't smell funky, and it's a bar fridge, like I mean, and it has a freezer in it. I can grab that and put that out in on the veranda for now, and then figure out what I want to do. Maybe I'll sell it for $80. Somebody that needs a new fridge or whatever. My brother bought it secondhand anyway. I'll ask him, well, you mind if I sell it? Like, I don't think he'll care because of the, my dad's, oh no, well, we'll bring it up there and then we'll have it, get rid of the other little fridge. We'll say, okay, well, I'll take the two little fridges and I have one for, just on spare if I need it, right? But the most I'm probably going to have down here is maybe a couple of days worth of like fresh food, maybe something in the freezer once in a while. Because most of my eating is done up there where the food is better, so yeah, until that situation changes, I'm kind of I'm learning from my friend Marvin. Go where the good food is. That's why he comes in here, is because the good food's in here, not out there, right? So hopefully I found, I'm hoping I got him blocked off once and for all, but that little bugger, he finds new ways in, so he's pretty persistent. So, yeah. So if I could downsize fridges, it's easier to keep a smaller fridge cool, so because there's not as much space. So that's plenty for me. It'll look a little weird with a small fridge beside the stove, but. I like my buddy said, well, just prop it up on a table or whatever, and then you can be just at like waist level. I might do something like that, because like I really don't need that much freezer space or anything like that. Even if I got chickens, you know what I mean, like like I could keep this fridge as a spare if I did need it, you know what I mean. But I really really don't there's two freezers up there, like I mean, and it's better when the freezers are full because then they don't use as much energy to stay cool, right? And my batch of meat bird chickens and turkeys will be their meat bird chickens and turkeys because obviously I'm growing them, I'm going to raise them for the whole family, right? So so cleaning out the garage, I'm sure there's lots of jars and containers that I still haven't found yet that's beneath everything, but I have to get a little bit more out of there. To find it, you know what I mean? So like once I get all the metal out of there, like how much stuff's sitting under, like that kind of stuff. I got lots of metal out there, and once I get rid of the metal at the back of the stable, I could start burning off and sawing up or recycling whatever boards are good. I'll probably just burn most of it. Like my dad has the sawmill. If I want to build anything, I'll just follow a few poplar trees or whatever and just build a few spruce or pine or whatever. I've got access to a sawmill. So if I want boards, I'm not gonna, unless I want the aesthetic of the old barn boards. But like for example. I don't know if you guys remember, but in between the bars, there was like a whole bunch of junk there that I whippersnipped around. There was like a chair and a bunch of stuff. I cleaned most of that. There was a lot of plastic junk in there. That's what pretty much half filled the recycle bin. So, it's getting down to the wire where I have to start looking for stuff, right? So that's good. That's like way further than I thought I was going to get this season. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I would still be clearing out the house at this point. Well, maybe not at this point. 3 months, like it doesn't take 3 months to empty a fucking house. You know what I mean? Like get off your ass and do it. But like to get, because I'm doing things methodically too. Like, you got to go through every little item to see if you're going to keep it. Like, I mean, the obvious stuff like the plastic, like containers and stuff like that, you're not going to keep that. But oh, it's a fly. What the hell is he? I've got one fly in here that's alive. He's the only fly in the house. Wow. Just wow. And he's making a lot of noise for one fly. He's like smacking himself against the ceiling. You're gonna hurt your head doing that, stupid. Anyway. But yeah, so if I can keep like every 2 weeks taking out another bit, like the big garbage bags, right? I've already gotten rid of like two of the biggest garbage bags, and there's still about 4 or 5 in there, and then I'm into the barn, right? And then after that, like for example, like the suitcases, um, once I get rid of all the insulation bags, right? And I've got most of the linoleum floor. What I'm doing is breaking it into small chunks at a time. Um, like there's tiles, there's all kinds of stuff that going to be getting rid of, right? There's a whole bunch of bathroom tiles there, and I'm not putting any tiles or anything down in here, no carpets, nothing like that. Uh, I can live with a hardwood, with a plywood floor. It doesn't bug me. There's never going to be carpets in here. It's too old of a building to do that kind of stuff because carpets just take on way too much moisture, right? And this building, leaving like in the summertime, yeah, windows open on every angle. This house can air out really good. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 windows in this place. Like and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the basement. Like there's so many, and then you got the attic, right? So like this house has the potential to air itself out, perfectly, no problem, right? But you still don't want to have carpets and rugs that are going to hold in moisture in a place like this. If you did do anything, linoleum floor is not that bad, but again, like there was rug in here forever and a day. I think my brother ripped it out last year. It was a red rug. But like growing up, it was always that linoleum floor that was in here, and then it all turns up and stuff like that. I don't know. It just, it's just better and easier to maintain, keeping it simple, right? The other thing too is just keeping the basement aired out. If you keep the basement aired out, the place will be fine. The place will be absolutely fine. I got this a little bit late, so that's why I made such a push to keep the ventilation going for September, October, because I got it September 1st, right? We're now November 3rd or whatever, so I'm working on the third month. But for a good month and a half, this place was aired out almost every day, almost all day. Right into from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 at night, kind of thing. Doors, windows all open, fan going in the basement, right? And that seems to have done the trick for the most part to air the place out. But we'll see how it is in the spring. Maybe in the spring it's okay, it's starting to get stuffy in here, because when it does rain and when the floor is wet, it does kind of let out. But the thing is you don't trap the moisture in the basement. You gotta let it get out. So, like for example, right now I could probably leave the hatch open for a little while, but with the heat on, I want to see what it's going to be like with the heat on, right? For hydro. So if I get the hydro bill and it's like way lower than what my brother paid, which I'm anticipating the hydro bill being lower. It's just the thing is the heating months are the months where the hydro is the highest, right? So what my anticipation is that it'll be a couple of bucks cheaper than what my brother was paying every month. And then in the summertime, it'll be like way cheaper, because like my dad's like, well, how much is the hydro down there yet? Did you get your first bill yet? I said, no, not till about December 2nd or so is the first bill. You know what I mean? Like, because it's every 2 months. And my brother showed me like his account online, like how the hydro went throughout the year. Now I've got like exact billing, not equal billing, because I think you pay too much when you do equal billing. Like it's not as much of a spike when it goes up, but I'm like, I wanted exact billing, so that's what I got. Why? Because it's like, well, equal billing, people like it because it's just like they know what they're going to pay every 2 months, right? But you're going to pay basically the average, which is basically going to be, probably a little bit high on the high side, because they're going to average it for the high months, right? So you might pay 300 every month when if you did exact, you might pay 200 every month or whatever it would be. Like if it's $200 a month average throughout the year, that's not that bad. That's something that's achievable, right? It's just I got this place a little bit late, and like my brother had paid the hydro up to October with a surplus of about $25 to his name, right? He overpaid a bit, right? Because he didn't know how long it was going to take me to. Everything's settled out now, so the hydro's in my name. It took forever to do it, but we got it done. And then now the bill's going to go to my main residence, which is up there. It was technically like my cottage, right? But it's getting cleared out. So my buddy has a bunch of chairs that are matching. And like I said, this is what I do. This is what I was going to do was like this. If I had all 4 chairs, I wouldn't bother. But if he has nicer chairs, I'll take the chairs. If not, because he was going to give them to his daughter, but his daughter, he's not sure what she's doing. She's supposed to move, but it's like, okay, well, I can't hang on to this stuff forever kind of thing. And he's got another chair like this, but I think he said it's one that joins on to another couch. So I don't know. I do want both arms. So, but it's like, it's clean. It doesn't have any smells in it, right? So I'm like, so maybe I take the fridge and the 4 or 6 matching chairs. Okay, maybe I do that, right? It's in my pocket. Something crunching in there. Oh. Okay, guys. This is how good of a person I am, okay? There was a candy jar at the school, okay? And I was like, maybe that's not safe for the kids to eat. I better test those candies so that I know that it's safe for the kids. And that's why I ate the 15 candies. Just saying. I know not all heroes wear capes, but I ate all that Halloween candy for them to save them. I'm a good person. But anyway, yeah. So on that note, I did find 2 or 3 more of those black drop curtains. My black hole. So I'm going to make my black hole wall bigger. Which means it'll be better for filming because I can then cover more. You won't see like this nice black backdrop and then like 2 little white strips on the side. It'll make it easier. So I gotta probably put in a couple of nails up there or something. I got a tack holding one of them up, and that seems to be doing the job. So I just got to go to the wall this way, go to the wall that way, and they just hang on the hooks that or the screws that are already in the wall. So if I want to take them down, put up something else. But yeah, that'll look better than the back wall. Anyway, the only thing is I only have a black one for now, but something like that in multiple different colors could be good. Plus, they come down so easy. They just hook there. I can make a portable vocal booth in the house here and have those curtains closed in enough so that you're not getting all the echoing off the walls. That's going to be really, really dandy. Now cleaning them, they're not too dirty, so that's good. It's more air them out, whatever, and then maybe wipe them down. I think I could probably throw them in the washing machine, but with those buckles, I don't know what would happen. If they'd get just shredded or if they would actually just make a lot of noise. If they just make a lot of noise, they're good at. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then whatever's on those buckles. So if I wash those in the washing machine, if it doesn't get torn apart in the washing machine, I'm gonna have to wear my hearing protection in the definitely in the dryer, because that's gonna make a lot of racket. Good. So I got my first backdrop, like a black backdrop that I know it's kind of wrinkly. Maybe I'll get an iron. My grandmother's old ironing board's out there. I was going to take it away from scrap, but maybe I might have to keep it. And but the thing is that that doesn't bug me at all, because the wrinkles will come out over time, so to speak. And the more important is I got a solid color backdrop that's all black. So there's good and bad in that. I mean, The good is it can create a cool aesthetic. The bad is it's really dark, so for things to pop, you know what I mean? Like there's yeah, there's good and bad in it. So I'd like to have a completely white backdrop like that too. But the thing is it was free. So yeah, I thought they were shower curtains, but I don't think they are. I think they're like just curtains on that. So I don't ever remember them putting them up though. Maybe they put well, they wouldn't have put it on that window. They didn't put it on this window. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. The cool part is that now, mind you, if my brother comes out, oh, I was looking for those. Well, I'll give them back to him. But if he doesn't care, I think my brother like anything that I find out, he doesn't care. He's like, no, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, no, just pretend you didn't find it and say nothing. Yeah, okay, I'll just hang on to it. So, but my, like I'd like to get a green screen like that. Like a green backdrop. I mean, a white one, whatever. A white one would be really good because then you can, use lighting to manipulate colors, so you don't have to buy a green one and a blue one and everything like that. Like with the lighting is with backdrops is kind of an interesting thing because you could do a lot with it. Next to that, like I say, just keep plugging away two bins. Those two bins, a bin a week going out. Like the next one is a garbage one. So, like I say, once I get all that, those big bulky garbage bags out, like it's kind of one of those things that it doesn't look like I'm taking much out at a time, but it's a bin at a time, right? And it's stuff. And then once I get the metal out of there, like the metal out of there might have been 20% of the stuff that's in there. That's going to be a big clean out, right? And then between now and next year, depends on how many more days I get. Like if it's just raining, I can do stuff, but if it's snowing, I'm not going to be able to. Like I got everything off the ground that I needed to. Like all the cinder blocks, that's going to be a next year. I got to still find a place where I'm going to put them. But the thing is once I get between the barns cleaned out, I can actually put cinder blocks somewhere around there. Just make a stack of cinder blocks so if I need them, or somebody else needs some, they can grab it. But the good cinder blocks I'm going to put aside, and like those are mine. Don't touch them, I'll break your fingers. Because I will be probably, like if I tear down like a part of the building and whatever, like that could lower the taxes, a little bit. Not by much, but if it does, if I could tear down a building and then put up like a little garage where I could work, that'd be great. You know what I mean? Like if I owned the property, I would knock down probably both of the barns and probably the greenery too. Like I don't want to because of the nostalgia, right? But there's that's a great space to put a nice big barn and a garage. You know what I mean? You'd have both there, and you could have some, maybe a chicken coop or something out there. Like I don't plan on big livestock or like if I was independently wealthy and had nothing to do all day, yeah, sure, get a horse. But like I don't want to live just to serve a horse. You know what I mean? Like horse people are different people. If I want to go horseback riding, I'll just go rent a horse. Just go rent a horse. But my whole goal is to clean the place out as much as possible before the winter, right? So I'm doing good on that. Dropping the trees and all that stuff, that's, again, there's no rush on that. But right now is a great time to have the brush cutter out because maybe by the weekend, even if it's just cold and frosty, even if there's a little bit of snow on the ground, just knock everything down because you can see everything, right? It's all flattened out, you can see everything. And then, you might not be able to rake it up now, but in the spring you can rake it up. Make a big burn pile somewhere and just burn it. That's what I plan on doing with some of the brush, and just burn it. Anything that I could cut into stove wood, I'll cut into stove wood, but like stuff like that small, and just burn it. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth the time. You know what I mean? Like if it's this big, yeah, I'll do it, or maybe even that big, whatever. But like anything else, and Manitoba maple, you don't want to spend too much time on that because that stuff just doesn't dry properly. The bark burns too dirty, and you don't get, even if you don't have any bark on it. It's kind of like it just doesn't let off enough heat. You know what I mean? It's not really, it's not good wood at all for that. That's why people don't like Manitoba maples, because they're really a shade tree. That's about all you. They look nice when you get them all trimmed up and everything, but no, they're pretty much a shade tree. That's about all you can do with them. But they do get big. That's the thing. They do get big, especially if they've been around for 100 years or so. Where I was there a couple of days ago, there was a nice property. You could tell like nothing had been cut on it for probably about 60 years. Like all the trees are like this big or bigger. And it's like, oh, there's some nice trees here. You know what I mean? It was 12 acres. It was an older couple, and it's just like, wow, like, you know, I'd love to see a property that that's why all the big trees are on people's properties. They're not, you know, it's like, oh, well, these trees have been here for 100 years. You know what I mean? 150 years, that kind of thing. Great grandfather planted that old type of thing. And when you get that, that's when you get some really nice trees. But the problem is that like everything around here has been cut and logged, clear cut like a couple of times in the past 200 years. It's been clear cut for pretty far north from here. You know what I mean? And so all the trees are kind of younger trees, like they're like 30, 40, 50 years old. You know, they pretty much clear out an area about every 35 years. So you don't end up with like massive trees, right? I would love to see like put a stop to immigration and just say, okay, well, we're going to rewild some areas and just like, okay, I won't live long enough to see it, but I would love to see like that, like in the future, you got a kid standing beside a tree that's 9 feet at the base because it's 400 years old. You know what I mean? Like I'd like to see all the trees get the size they are in the Okanagan Valley, that type of thing in Northern Oregon. But like, all these big redwoods that they cut down and stuff like that, like, just to keep, a housing industry going, like it really, like I wish we had a little bit more of a sustainable kind of outside, people were a little more sustainable. Like they always talk about environmentalism, but they never talk about sustainability of stuff like that, right? So the only way you can do that is just kind of like let it go at a natural pace of the growth of the population or decline, rewild, whatever. Like, I mean, like this homestead is like parts of it are 200 years old. You know what I mean? Or around 200 years old. Like having homes that old, and the newest part of this would be from the 1970s. You know what I mean? Like the veranda was built in either the late 1970s or early 80s. I remember it when I was a little kid. So it was probably the late 70s or early 80s when the veranda went on. Before that, I actually remember this house before that. You know what I mean? Before the veranda went on it. So like that's a long time for a house to be around, right? So like that's good though. You know what I mean? Like, cause like the lumber that was cut for this years and years ago, like the old pine floor, or the old floors underneath the stuff like that. You go in the basement, you can see it. The old pine floors that are underneath here, underneath the plywood. Well, like it wasn't clear cut logging that really got that. It was just here we built a house, make it last, and take what we need, and that's it. More sustainable, right? But if I want the house to last any longer, got to keep it aired out, got to keep it got to maintain it. Like if I maintain the roof on this house, it'll stand another 200 years if people maintain it, after I'm dead and gone. You know what I mean? It'll probably stand another 200 years. Easy. The only thing that'll probably take this place away is probably going to be from the ground up, not from the top down. And even at that, if you stay on top of that, like the stuff I'm going to be doing to this house, to stop it from leaking. Once I stop the leaks, this house is going to stand for 1,000 years. You know what I mean? Like it's just literally nothing going to rot it, right? So you need the moisture for it to rot. So I mean, termites can get in it, but if there's no moisture, you don't get termites. You know what I mean? That's why, like, you cut up a pine tree, okay, and or a spruce tree or whatever, and you cut it up, and you pile of wood in your house or whatever, you'll hear munching like that. It's like, what the hell is that? And it's basically the pine bugs or termites type of thing, right? You're like, oh my god, those are going to get in my house, but they don't. They never go in the wall. Why? Because the dry wood's too hard. They don't bother. They go after the moisture, right? So what ends up happening is they burrow their way into the wood. Okay, they eat, and then the wood starts to shrink, and then they get trapped in there and they're crushed. And then what happens when you throw that into the furnace and it burns? You're pop, 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 pop. Yeah, it's like this little crisp little pop that you hear. That's usually it was a pine bug. Was he got entombed and then he got vaporized. Yeah, it was weird when I discovered that. Yeah, and if you have a whole bunch of them in one area, it's like you just like basically blew up and vaporized a whole bunch of pine bugs, dead pine bugs. Yeah, so I'm happy that I got another 2 bins full. So, and then like next week, like like every 2 weeks is a cycle, right? So like for example, each week I fill a bin, but I haven't had a chance to fill that garbage bin for about 2 weeks since it got emptied the last time because I've been working pretty much solid since. And of course it was raining and stuff like that. So today I got everything full. So basically, well, except for the, like it'll be 2 weeks before I have to get the other bin out there. But I'm gonna put both bins out there. That's taken care of, right? But every time those 2 bins get emptied, I mean that's a lot of junk gone. Like I forgot to ask my cousin. I was like, were those things pretty heavy to lift, like for the machine to lift? Well, it's a hydraulic machine, wouldn't matter. But those were heavy bins. Like I'm sure 1 week the bin was over 200 pounds, like way over 200 pounds. The garbage bin's not so much because I'm getting to the puffy stuff now. But when I had them full of packed clothes bags, that has to be, and plus with all the moisture in the bags and everything like that, that had to be at least 200 pounds. Like just pushing them along is like, oh yeah. But now they're going to start getting lighter because there's less of that density that's there. Like if I could find every item that needs to be thrown out and have it all in one spot, yeah, it'll go a lot quicker. But you got to dig for some of the stuff too. But every time you get rid of a bin, it's that much less you have to dig through the next time. And then at some point you hit the ground, you find the ground, and there's nothing left to dig. You know what I mean? So once that happens, then it's just a matter of a few big items that I got to wait till next year for the large waste pickup. And when it's the large waste pickup, that'll be, that'll really clear things out. But the scrap metal's the next big one because I'm going to take everything. I'm going to let my dad know that probably Thursday, Paul and I are going to be doing scrap metal. So it's like, hey, if you want to go through the woodshed and get some stuff ready, we'll show up with a trailer. We'll get everything in the back. Anything that's scrap that can go, just start hucking it onto that, because there's a lot that my dad threw out already, and a lot my brother threw out. Like my brother threw out a lot of stuff. Like he threw out probably everything I threw out so far and more on the large waste pickup, right? But that's how much junk was down here, plus all the stuff they took up there, right? To my dad's place. So when you factor that in, like how much junk they actually had and how much I'm cleaning up, I mean, it's like I say, we're beginning 3 months now, beginning the 3rd month, and I'm still cleaning, 2 bins, like a bin a week, you know what I mean? Like a full garbage bin a week, solid packed, you know what I mean? I myself have maybe produced, maybe in that 3 months time, maybe 3 bags of garbage, like maybe chip bags, a couple of chip bags. That's it. But I haven't really been living down here. I've just been staying down here during the when it's nice during the day, and then I go up home. Which I'm going up home fairly. It's 4 o'clock, so really it's only 3 o'clock because of the time change. But the cool part is that I've got my plan working the way I want so far. And once I get a vehicle, for example, like that helps me out, a lot more because I can, don't have to wait on anybody else to get rid of scrap metal. I can get rid of it right away. But there is a lot of scrap metal. I'm just gonna I'll put like the aluminium stuff with the aluminium stuff, whatever. But the rest of it, I'm just gonna okay, I'll get rid of the copper. Yes, I'll hang on to the copper no matter what. But I just want it gone. You know what I mean? And that is 90% of the time when you're doing a scrap metal run. It's like people just want it gone. But every time you take something away, you can get at something else and clean up even more. So when I go, like right now is the perfect time to run, like if it was a little drier out, go cut between the barns because all the foliage is completely down so I could actually see the brush. So anywhere, like there was a thing of wire in there, I had to pull it out. Like some of the stuff like you do with the actual clippers, when you can't see what you're going into, but anywhere I can use the brush cutter and just get things down, like probably this weekend I'm probably going to start raking piles of brush onto the yard there, stack them up a certain way so that when it's when I can't, once the snow is on the ground, I'm going to start burning and just start burning brush piles, smaller brush piles, and just burn them all right where they are, and then rake it up in the spring. Burn anything else that's burn any of the survivors. You know what I mean? Like just do that, but then start dropping trees around the barns, cutting that up for stove wood. But I don't want to do too much of that right now because I don't want stove wood sitting on the ground, and the woodshed's not empty enough to start stacking stove wood in there. But it will be very shortly, So it's again going way better. And there is a lot of good stuff that's in there too that I got to keep, right? Like the weeping tile, obviously not going to throw that out. The tin in the basement, I don't want to get rid of that, and I don't want to just store it in the barns. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Some of it is junk, so it's going to go for scrap. Like if it's all dented and shit like that, okay, yeah, we're going to take it for scrap. Like at one point I'm going to get the that oil furnace out of the basement and send it for scrap. Because it's like I told my dad, like I know the family bought it from my grandmother and put it in there, but the basement has been flooded, it's been corroded, it hasn't worked for years. My dad does want to keep the oil tank because he wants to use it as a cut half the side open. I don't know if he wants to use it as a burn barrel or make a wagon out of it or something like that. Not sure what he wants to do with it, but he does want to keep it. So otherwise, Paul and I take it for scrap and just whatever. So there's no priority to get that out of the basement right away. Maybe next year. Whatever, the way my dad and I took the last furnace out of the basement up there, the oil furnace, we just stripped it down to the bare minimum, just took everything apart and we took it out piece by piece, and then we were able to carry, a good proportion of it. The heavy parts, with the two guys could do it, right? And I got the old oil furnace that used to be there. You can still see the oil stain on it went through the linoleum or whatever because it leaked all the time. That is never going to run again. So I'm going to ask my dad today. I said, "Do you mind if I take that for scrap? Like it's done. It's been sitting there for 30 years. It's just not going to be used again. You know what I mean? So if I could take that, I'll take that. My dad's more concerned about like the old horse harnesses and stuff like that, and all that stuff. I don't want to get rid of that because that's it. I'll just put that as decor on the walls and out there. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna, I really want to clean it up, and there's just so much junk that like there's even shelving and stuff out there that it's just like might have been the old cupboard. Well, these cupboards are old anyway, but old cupboards. It was just like, like it's just junk piled on top of junk, right? So anything that can burn, I'm going to burn, right? So the old pieces of barn, yeah. Like once I'm done burning everything around, like in there and here, that burn barrel is going to go out over there, and I'll just saw stuff up, throw it in, burn it. You know what I mean? Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Just keep plugging away at it, and see how far I get. I think next year, like one of the things I've got to do is start raking where I've already done, and I think next year when I like start off the spring, it's going to be a good start to the spring, so to speak, where it's like, okay, well, I can see where all the stumps are that I've cut down, and I can just start off like with really low grass right early spring, and then say I have to go through do the whole property, say twice a summer. It'll be fine, because even if it grows up again, like the first time you go through it, like it's the old undergrowth, that's the stuff that takes the most to get rid of. The second time, third time you go through it, you're down right to the ground, right? Because the new stuff is just not thick enough, right? So you can cut it right down to the ground, and you're fine, right? So my goal is to completely clean right down to the creek, whatever the environmental, like 10 feet back or whatever it is from the water line. Okay, fine. I'm allowed to make a spot for a dock or whatever. I'm not going to make a dock down there, like it's just a creek, right? So I don't really need a dock. But there's a little spot that my cousin's daughters they go swim in there. I want to make sure that that's clean because there's a lot of glass and stuff in there. So I'll make sure that I clean that out for them. So I have like a little beach down there. So, that'd be fun for them. It'd be fun for them. My nephew could, okay, the creek's not, you don't really want to swim in the creek too much because it's kind of dirty, but, it's like, it's a place for them to cool off when it's hot, right? So I get that done for them. And then, but that's like year 2 type of stuff, you know what I mean? Like year 1 is like, okay, I got to move the tree line back. There's about all those Manitoba maples, like taking those down is going to be, that's going to be quite the thing to see. Like it's going to be like, wow, you took all that away. I think about how much it's grown in since I was a kid. You know what I mean? It's a lot. It's a lot. And then clearing the fence line, and the grapevines are going to be new grapevines are going to. I'll see if I can get some clippings from my regular grapevines, because you can't pick a better spot than there. You just cannot pick like 24 like all day sun, morning to night. Oh wow, I can't believe the amount of time. Anyway, so things are coming along. It was a short day today. I think it's going to be another short day tomorrow, and then Wednesday it'll be my normal. Might be a short day. And then Thursday I want to do the scrap metal, and maybe Friday I get the beaver traps out. I'll talk to the client tonight, say I'll aim for Friday. If my other client calls, I'll say, well, I'll see if I can get them for Saturday, just to get the beaver trapping going. But the idea of getting all that stuff out, it's like the whole town knows what I'm up to. Like they're like, wow, how's the place coming along? Like, yeah, you're emptying that place. Oh, holy geez, like I'm sure the rumors are like, you wouldn't believe the amount of junk that like you do. Like the average recycle bin has like that much in it every 2 weeks, or maybe half full, very loosely, piled like boxes or something like that. He's like, they'd be like, no, that was like densely packed, like 200 pounds of bin, like the amount of stuff. And it looks bad on my brother a bit, for the hoarding angle of it, right? So, because like, like the impression you got that, it was the place that was the problem, but it wasn't. It was the lifestyle, right? So they're doing well up there. They're keeping it clean, everything like that. So doing the dishes. Everybody does the dishes on a nightly basis, that kind of thing. Everybody contributes, you know what I mean? Because my fear is that bring these habits that they had down here up there. Well, number one, my dad won't allow that, but it's just you don't destroy this house and then go up there and destroy that house, right? So, and the thing is that like what keeps them motivated to keep it clean is the idea that they know my dad won't allow it, so it forces them to kind of like not slag on that, right? So, and then plus they don't have anywhere near the amount of stuff that they had down here, right? Like again, they probably took a third of what they owned with them. My brother probably already threw out and think about all the stuff I've took out of here in the past 2 months, and everything that I've taken out of there and all the stuff I burnt. They've probably taken that much and brought it, like I say, already to the large waste pickup. And then on top of that, I've got rid of about another third of that. Now, mind you, there's still a lot of junk that's going into the upstairs attic in the woodshed, but my dad's throwing out a lot of stuff too. It's like, here's old car parts from Ford Ranger from 1988. We're probably not going to use that anymore. So when I do the scrap metal, it's like at one point my dad was getting really good. I had a couple of little pails out to just fill the pails, and then anything big we'll put it aside. Just go. At one point we'll just throw it in the back of the white truck, right? So, but the trucks aren't there anymore. So I got to set it up so that my dad has a place to throw scrap metal. So when Paul and I do a run, or if I have it whenever I get my next vehicle, like I'll even just leave a trailer there and just say, just fill the trailer, and once the trailer's full, I'll take it for a scrap run, or if it's half full or whatever. I just don't leave it there, And then that's better for my dad, because he won't get overwhelmed. Just like, wow, what do we do with all this? Like all those old chainsaws up there, are we ever really going to fix them? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's neat to say have them around and whatever, but at some point, when do you say when? It's just like, you just got to chuck stuff out, get rid of it, burn it, sell it, whatever. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Again, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, for each, 1 day a week just to get that garbage out. But I'm a very patient man. Like a lot of people wouldn't be that patient. They'd want it all done within like 2 weeks. And you could do it within 2 weeks, but then you have to pay the eco charge. It's $2.35 a ton right now at the Eco Center. So this is why I'm not procrastinating with the filling the bins. I get a week between each bin fill, right? So the idea is get all the bins filled, get all the stuff out, so that if they change a rule or something like that, or I do have to take something to the Eco Center, it won't be very much. Like if I had to take a couch and the mattress to the Eco Center, no biggie. But if I get rid of those on the large waste pickup or drop off, I guess you'd say, that's a lot cheaper for me. And if I could do that, then the upside to that is very simple: is that I don't have to pay to get rid of it. It just takes me a little longer. So that's what I'm going to do. And then all the scrap metal, like I say, but in 3 years' time, there's not going to be anything metal around here that is not of use or nostalgia. You know what I mean? Like it'd be like, like the old boxes of nails and stuff like that are no good. They're all rusted out and all that, just lying there like in the granary. Like all these old nails, no one's going to ever use them. Like if they're good, okay, maybe I'll hang on to it, but organize it, put some in jars, whatever. But the boxes of nails that are all rusted, just fucking chuck it. You know what I mean? But you have to go through it to get to it and everything like that. It can be a real pain to get that. But like when my buddy shows up with the trailer, there's so much I could throw out in the granary that allow me to get into other spots in the granary. And it's just like, okay, well, I can get rid of this, I can get rid of this. I can't get rid of too much because I don't know what can go, what has to stay. But there's a lot of shit that can just go. you know, like that. I just know, like the old shopping cart things, you know what I mean? Like no one's going to care if I throw those out. Pieces of this, pieces of that, you know, just, you know, a chunk of steel here, a chunk of steel there. That's like, it's not old farm equipment. It's just pieces of steel, you know, like the old chains from the old chainsaws, you know, like the old, like there's so much in there, you know, like, is any of it going to be ever fixed? No. You know what I mean? Is any of it, like, is it even nostalgic? No, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Anyway, I'm going to get ready to go back up home. So I got a little bit done down here. A little bit of work done today. So otherwise, not too bad of a day at all. I'll call my buddy, see what the show is for tomorrow. We might be working in the rain. That's a high possibility. But that's okay if I get a little more money for the next 2 days. So even if I have, like, if I can make money the next 3 days and maybe set up the traps on Friday, maybe Saturday, I have to go get some beavers, that's great. You know, I'll still have time to do work down here for Saturday and Sunday, plus start recording again. That'll be good. Yeah, looking forward to all that. So, and you know, things are coming along. So, anyway, there we go. Enough babbling for now. Have a good one.